Hey everybody, Jim and Joey here with a Rewind Theater on the new Man of Steel trailer.
Jim, I'm so excited for this movie, I can't even tell you.
Now, right off the bat, we get a pretty provocative symbolic image. The classic Christ pose of Kal-El, Clark Kent, lying in the water in debris. I'm guessing his little deadliest catch shipping voyage went awry.
It could be. I feel like they should have a Soundgarden song playing right here, Jesus Christ posed. But, you know, that's a classic image of Superman as a Christ figure, and so it doesn't surprise me that they open up this trailer with that.
Now, here we see little Clark Kent, obviously going through some traumatic times.
Probably developing his powers. Maybe the whole world is sort of being cacophony, you know, cacophonous sound in his super hearing or something.
Now, there is Diane Lane as Martha Kent, and what's a little different here is that she seems to be the one more supportive or sort of helping him as he goes through his changes and comes to terms with his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see a little bit about Jonathan Kent and shortly. That is a little different from what we're used to.
My son was in the bus.
Now, this sequence, this bus crash, apparently happens when Clark is an adolescent, and it's, judging by this trailer, it's the first time he ever uses his powers publicly enough that it's caused a stir with the community.
Yeah, you know, it's the inciting incident. That's a great shot of him, you know, just sort of doing what needs to be done. And that I think that's a great Superman moment. Like, it's just, he makes the call, he makes the judgment call, and does what he thinks is right.
But Papa Kent,
None
Pa
too
Kent
happy.
himself, Jonathan Kent, Kevin Costner, given his son a lecture that Glenn Ford's Pa Kent probably would not have given him. He's telling him, "Don't be a hero," as the song says.
I mean, I didn't take it that way, and I know this caused some controversy online and stuff. And you know, basically, young Clark asks if he should just let those people die, and Pa Kent says maybe. But I don't take that as, you know, yeah, screw him. I take that as the most important thing in the world to Jonathan Kent is his son, you know, and maybe that's at the expense of everybody else, because we've seen that theme in Superman stories before. Like, they don't know what would happen if the government found out about him, which is something.
Yeah, that we're going to see play out a little bit. There's also sort of I mean, who knows? Maybe Jonathan Kent's a religious guy and he doesn't want his son playing God, basically determining who lives and dies. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
What was I supposed to do?
Yeah, there's a callback to the school bus.
Mm-hmm.
Clark having a flashback. Okay, maybe he wasn't having a flashback, but you know what I mean. Now, this could be... Is this our first look at the Fortress of Solitude, or perhaps maybe...
Could be one of those ships that we see later on. I think it's probably the Fortress of Solitude.
What's interesting, though, is that this footage was actually shown to the Hall H crowd at Comic-Con back in July.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had basically prepared trailer now for a little while. And we get our first look at this bad boy.
And that's cool. That's, you know, obviously the S shield, which is the House of L symbol. And I think maybe that's sort of like that plays the role of something like the crystals in the old movies, you know, that has all the information of his family history on it or something like that.
And our first good look coming up here at the Superman outfit. Again, it almost looks like he's walking on clouds there because of the snow, but gorgeous cinematography.
Yeah, and I love the costume too. It's just very regal and very...
But, Joey,
But...
there's no S on the back.
I know. There's no yellow S shield on the back, which is actually my favorite part of the Superman costume, even though in the comics now it's black, which is kind of lame. So that does suck. I always regret when they don't have the yellow S, but I still think the costume looks great. You know, this is a prime locale also for the Fortress of Solitude.
And then this is nice, the first time we actually see him in flight, and it's just sort of the effect it has on nature and his surroundings, which is something we didn't really see in other Superman movies. He just sort of flies off.
Yeah, we've never seen him physically affect the environment around him like that, and I think that's a really cool idea, and I think that fits with what Nolan and Goyer have talked about wanting to do.
Now, this laser beam shooting down into, I assume, Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Is that from the alien ships that we saw?
I think that's probably from one of the ships that we saw earlier. And this is a great shot of Russell Crowe as Jor-El.
Yeah, you see that he actually has the S shield, the logo itself on his chest,
Yep.
plus a sort of a bit of an armored look to Jor-El in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's Lara, played by, I'm probably going to slaughter her name, I believe it's Ayelet Zurer,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe she was in Da Vinci Code, actually.
And of course, baby Kal-El.
Kal-El. And then
Adult,
this shot,
manly beard Kal-El.
yeah, there's Crazy Eyes rocking the Wes Bentley Death Stare there.
He really does. Too.
And you know, his man hair on his chest there cannot be burned off.
Yeah, that beard's pretty amazing.
Now let's go back here and we get a good look-see in this next sequence at some apparently Kryptonian spaceships.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Destruction going on
Kryptonian.
here.
And then of course they arrive at the Kent farm, which just bodes well, obviously.
Yeah, that's going to end well. And there's, I believe that's Ma Kent coming down the stairs. Now, you have an observation, though, that they're talking about Pa Kent in the past tense.
Yeah, when Clark starts his monologue later on, he's talking about Pa Kent in the past tense, which would line up with lots of other Superman stories where, unfortunately, Jonathan Kent doesn't make it through the whole movie or through the whole story.
Well, if you have two spaceships show up at your house, I would, and you know, I want the classic Western thing of him coming out with his shotgun to defend his homestead.
Right.
He gets zapped.
And there
There
is
we go.
General Zod with a
Michael
awesome
Shannon
goatee.
from Boardwalk Empire. Again, he's got an armored look, and he kind of looks something like Maxie Zeus, that really inane DC Comics character. But with between the beard and the Caesar haircut.
Definitely more militaristic Zod than we've seen in films past. I mean, I love the juxtaposition of these two shots. You have Zod here, and then of course the very next one is Superman on his knees. A nice little, you know,
and those definitely look
spitting
like
up blood.
Kryptonian boots there.
Yeah, and a nice
Try and
little
get a good
nod
shot.
to kneel before Zod, of course. So.
Although he doesn't say that line in the movie, he said in a recent interview. So, wah, wah. Now here we get our first look at Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White.
Yep, the chief himself.
Chief
and
himself,
Metropolis crumbling around him.
Now, do you think that's Daily Planet coming down behind him?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the planet seems to be one of those locations that has to get blown up at some point in every movie. And
Now that's a nice shot.
Yeah, this definitely looks like Krypton to me. That's probably Lara standing there watching her home planet be destroyed. Just pretty depressing, but I think it's really a really cool shot.
Do you think that Zod is responsible for the destruction of Krypton?
It could be. They've done something like that in the Superman Earth 1 comics. It wasn't Zod, but it was another alien race that's responsible for destroying Krypton. I think that's kind of lame, personally, especially if Zod is, you know, the general of the planet that's trying to protect it from whatever threats are out there.
Now, what's Clark
casting a fishing net?
and some sort of light in the sky? Is that a flare? I don't know. Well, let's go on to this shot. This is, of course, the new poster.
Mm-hmm.
Superman in cuffs. Clearly the human race not ready for a superpowered being.
Yeah, I mean, one
interrupting their
theory is
affairs.
maybe Zod and his friends show up first, and that's what sort of urges Clark to put on the costume and go after them, and sort of turns himself in when the rest of the country doesn't fully trust him after seeing what Zod can do.
But it goes to show that he's a good sport, because we all know he could kick everybody's
Oh,
ass right
totally.
there. And then right here we get, well, after another I'm Cool Henry Cavill shot, we get our first really comic booky image of the villain and the hero fighting.
Yep.
And I love the visuals in this movie. It's very painterly kind of backgrounds. And then right here we get another shot of the Kryptonian vessels.
Mm-hmm. And they're very organic looking. Like there's no sharp edges and things like that. It's all very rounded and sort of natural looking.
And then right here we get our first look at, that's on the left is Christopher Maloney. You might know him from Law & Order SVU. And then Richard Schiff from The West Wing. Maloney plays a character I believe named Colonel Hardy. And then Richard Schiff plays a rather well-known comic book supporting character. Why don't you tell us
He
about
does. That is Dr. Emil Hamilton, who's been in the comics for a very long time. He's always at Star Labs and sort of helping Superman out with any science questions or building him anti-Kryptonian suits and things like that.
So
But
it's like Q.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, one interesting thing in regards to this movie, in the comics, Hamilton discovered the Phantom Zone on Earth and created the Phantom Zone projector, which Superman uses to access the Phantom Zone. And we know the Phantom Zone is involved in the movie somehow. I don't think it's called that anymore. But so it would be interesting if maybe Hamilton creates this thing and maybe accidentally unleashes Zod and his armies from the Phantom Zone. And that's the inside.
What an
incident.
asshole.
Yeah, what a jerk.
All right. Now this is interesting here. We see Mother Nature going berserk right behind Clark Kent as he saves some local child. That or Lois Lane had a prom night trophy. One of the two.
Wow.
I mean, not Lois, Lana Lang. Sorry.
Terrible.
I know, I'm awful.
And this is the part where we were talking about where he's talking with Jonathan Kent in the past tense.
Now, but this is interesting. Is he flying into a portal, some sort of silo, an explosion?
I think maybe it's what we're shooting Metropolis before from the ship, and he's pulling an Independence Day and flying right up into the shot there.
Now, I wonder, this would be interesting if, I think a lot of people would suspect this is probably from Act 3, he's coming to save the day. What if this is just like middle of the movie and that's how he ends up in custody? I don't know. Let's see here. Coming up is another interesting shot.
It's a great shot of the suit there.
And then, of course, this was the first promo image released from the film was Clark in front of the destroyed vault.
Right, so this is mid-battle. I love this. The first time we get to see Superman, and of course Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
Yep, she's all doe-eyed for him.
She's
already.
all pretty and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course they're in front of the army, which makes me wonder if she has any involvement, in terms of, in the comics, Lois Lane's dad is a general. So I wonder if they're going to use that.
That would be an interesting take. Would explain some of the access that she could probably get.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that'll about do it for this Rewind Theater. I'm sure there'll be more Superman trailers down the line. So thanks for watching.